Hey everybody, and welcome back to my top 50 board games of all time. Today I'm counting down from number 20 to number 11. So really the cream of the crop now. Let's get started. So at number 20, I have last year's number 6 with Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Game. Now this is an excellent cooperative game that also plays very well solo, where you take control of these different Lord of the Rings heroes, trying to overcome these different scenarios and quests. It's absolutely brilliant. So much variety with the different powers and strategies you can take to overcome these different obstacles. All the different monsters and characters from Lord of the Rings you'll ever find. So if you're a fan of this genre, it is absolutely just a joy to play. A beautiful artwork and just a fantastic game in its completion. So much kind of scope to kind of do something a bit different with the framework of the rules. It's just an absolutely fantastic game. One that I probably don't play as much as I'd like to, but that's because you have to constantly buy the new quests and stuff like that, as with most Fantasy Flight games. So, but that still is no knock on the game, because the game itself is absolutely fantastic. That is Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Game. At number 19, I have Istanbul. Now this is a very kind of, a pretty light Euro game that uses very cool mechanisms where you are basically taking a stack of merchants, moving around the board and dropping them off at a time to activate a different worker placement spot, or a different spot on the board. And it's kind of a race for these rubies, because you can go all these different routes, such as like trading in money to get gems, or you can trade in different goods to get gems, or you can fill up your wagon with to its maximum capacity to get gems. And it's just a real kind of race as you are flying around this board. You can use your workers to block each other, because if people land on the same spot as you, they have to pay a little fine and stuff like that. It's just a really nice game, and this one is, I think it's getting more and more popular as people are starting to appreciate how good it is. Just a lovely, breezy game, and it's just fantastic. That is Istanbul. At number 18, I have pretty much my favourite auction game with High Society. Now this is a very kind of short game. It only takes about 10 minutes to play, where you're trying to basically just buy these different cards with this set of different money cards you have. But the kind of trick to it is that you don't actually have like denominations for the money other than what you have in your hand. So you never get changed for the cards you play. And that can be a real trick to use your cards efficiently. And you always have to bid not to take the negative cards. So there's a bit of a twist there as well. But the kind of ultimate twist that goes with this is that the person who spent the most money at the end of the game is automatically eliminated. So you have to kind of mentally track what other players are doing and what they're spending too. Just an ultra quick game, but so much fun, and some pretty cool twists in there too. That's High Society, a great classic game by Rainer Knizia. At number 17, I have Hanamikoji, which is my favourite two-player game. So you'll find no more exclusive two-player games from now on. This is an amazing tug-of-war style game that uses very interesting mechanics. Basically, it uses the kind of I split, you choose mechanic, where you're trying to choose these different cards. All have different numbers on the kind of all assigned to a different geisha girl, and you're trying to get the cards on your side of the board that correlate to those geisha girls. And the first person to get to control 4 geisha girls or get 11 charm points is the winner. But this game is a real kind of messes with your head, and you really have to think about your decisions so carefully, because each decision is so crucial to winning, and the subtleties and nuances of the game really don't kind of present themselves until you get really experienced with playing it. And once you do, just the depth that comes with this in just only a few cards is just absolutely phenomenal. An absolutely incredible two-player game. That is Hanamikoji. At number 16, I have Council of Four. Now, this is a game by Daniele Tascini, who is one of my favourite designers of all time. This kind of has this almost Ticket to Ride style way of drafting or of doing things, where you have to collect these different colours to buy permits, which let you put your little merchants on the board and let you get rewards in return. You're basically trying to Get your little workers or little merchants in different areas on the board to collect these tiles to get you victory points. But another thing you kind of have to juggle in your head is that when you place your merchants on these different locations, you get these very cool combinations which string together and give you more powerful and powerful rewards. So you have to kind of juggle whether you want to go for the victory points or go for the rewards by placing your merchants, by stringing as much of your workers together. That might not make sense, but it's actually a very kind of light game, a very Euro style game, but it's absolutely fantastic. I had no problems teaching this to actually like non-gamers too, so it's absolutely a great game. The cool mini or not version of this is absolutely amazing production as well, probably way too overproduced for what it is, but I love that. It just looks fantastic. That is Council of Four. At number 15, I have a game from this year with Chronicles of Crime. Now, this is a game that uses an app and a load of different cards which have different people on them and different locations, and you are basically scanning these cards and locations to work out who's committed these crimes. You've got these VR glasses that let you kind of examine the crime scenes and pick up clues which let you interrogate people with them and stuff like that. It's an absolutely incredible game, this is. I mean, I had high hopes for it just because of the way that the game works. I thought it had so much potential. But when I've actually got it to the table and played it, I think, oh, they've done such a good job with this. The cases are juicy, they're deep, they're really dark as well, which I was quite surprised with. It's just an amazing game. And if you like cooperative games and you like games like Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, this one is definitely one to check out. It brings that kind of genre into the modern age and uses technology really well to get the most out of the game. Fantastic, fantastic experience. That is Chronicles of Crime. At number 14, I have last week's number 7 with The Castles of Mad King Ludwig. This is an awesome game that lets you build your own castle, trying to fulfill the different criteria to get victory points, basically to try and please the king by building this really quirky and cool castle. You have public objectives and hidden objectives too. The game is just it looks great as you watch your own little castle take shape. You take real ownership and pride of it. But the thing that I really love about this game is the master builder mechanic, where you basically get to choose the prices of the different rooms available, and other players can choose to buy them or not. And if they do buy them, they have to pay you. But with setting the prices, you have to be careful because you get last dibs on which tile to pick up for yourself. So very cool choices to make there. Just a fantastic game. I played this to death, and I'm not even slightly bored of it. That is The Castles of Mad King Ludwig. At number 13, I have another Wolfgang Kramer game with Mexica. Now, this is a pretty nasty area control game, pretty abstract in its, in the way it works, where you are basically placing these different temples on this board. You are carving up the board yourself by placing these rivers and controlling these different locations. It's absolutely brilliant. It's nasty, it's ferocious, but an absolutely great game. That is Mexica. At number 12, I have another game by Daniele Teschini with the Voyages of Marco Polo. Now, this is a worker placement game that uses dice. It's really quite fierce when you fight over these different places, because the first person to get in these places doesn't have to pay a fee, where anyone else after them has to pay a fee to use those worker placement spots. You're trying to collect these different resources and cash them in to fulfill contracts, a bit like Lords of Waterdeep, but this one has another kind of dimension to it, as you are traveling around the globe, or Asia at least, trying to place these different trading posts down and getting rewards and new worker placement spots in return. But the real kind of twist on this game is how different each player's ability is. You have these very unique character abilities that are extremely powerful, and everyone seems better than yours, but everyone says the same about you. It just adds so much flavour to the game, and this is a kind of a Euro game and a worker placement game that stands above the rest. That is The Voyages of Marco Polo. And finally, for this segment, at number 11, I have Trajan by Stefan Feld. So my second Stefan Feld game. This one is incredible. It uses the Mancala mechanism, where you're collecting these. You basically have this rondel of different actions, and you've got these different bowls, and you're picking up these different tokens and moving them around the bowl, dropping one off on the way, and the last one you drop off is the action you take. But if you line up the colours appropriately, you can activate further abilities as well and get these real kind of synergies and connections and combos together to basically get loads of different victory points. It is a real point salad style of a game, very, very dry, but that doesn't bother me at all. There's no theme in this game at all. It uses the kind of ancient Rome kind of skin on it, and it works well, but this game is purely about the mechanics and the mechanisms, and the gameplay is phenomenal. It's a real brain burner, and you can kind of play this as in-depth as you like. You can be really good with it and string like 4 or 5 turns ahead of yourself and plan all your moves ahead. It has that much depth and that much strategy that you can really go as far as you want with it. An absolutely amazing Euro-style game. That is Trajan by Stefan Feld. So that concludes my number 20 to number 11 of my best 50 games of all time. Stay tuned for the next show where I'll be counting down my top 10. So that's the real top of the pile there. So if you like the video, please hit like and subscribe and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.